Hey everybody, Adam Savage in my cave, and welcome to part 2 of my dinosaur build. If you remember the last episode, link in the description, I had reached a point where, in order to continue, I needed some help. And that's when I called my friend Gary Staab. Gary Staab sculpted my velociraptor's head, including the eyes and the teeth, at his shop before sending all those parts to me, where he was able to come and see the dino assembled for the very first time.
As soon as you put that in there, the animal starts to breathe.
Yeah, this is where all the work happens.
Yeah.
And then this is, I'll tell you the story of this later, but this is the only space the dino will fit. And so here she is.
Oh,
I'm sure it's a she.
Has to be.
I don't know her name. Well, maybe we come up with a name.
We might be able to figure that out.
But yeah, you've only seen pictures of her up till now.
Right? Oh yeah, that's gonna pan up great.
And yeah, there's some textural differences, but I feel like a lot of that's gonna go away.
Yeah. We can blend some
We may have some snap blending to do.
Sure.
Apparently what I was explained to me was that like these kind of things just will disappear once the paint job happens.
I think part of it, I have been thinking about maybe what sort of patterns we can do that not only accentuate, design-wise,
right,
but also can help
hide those crimes.
Maybe hide those crimes a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, that would be good. How is the weight of the head? It was a little heavy, wasn't it?
It's heavy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to make it lighter. I did grind out. You can see I did some grinding on the inside with the flap wheel, and I took out a couple of ounces.
That was my concern. Is when I laminated that, I thought that feels, knowing at how difficult it might be to operate it over extended period of time, it might get a little bit tiresome to do. But
well, it's also like once you're in it, it is counterbalanced off the tail. You are at the center of gravity.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult. Well, yeah.
How much does it weigh?
About 60 pounds.
Oh, that's much lighter than I thought. Okay.
Yeah. They told me that the walkarounds for the theme parks are about 75 pounds.
Okay.
So I was happy to come in slightly under. This is all rattan and birch ply.
Oh, really?
Birch ply.
Oh, I can't wait to see.
And then it's covered with spacer mesh. Do you know about this stuff?
I don't know about that.
So spacer mesh is a non-woven spun synthetic. Basically, it's like in your jackets and in your sneakers and stuff like that.
Okay.
But what it is air moves through it almost completely, but it hides all these. It like evens out all these bumps. So I think the main thing we have to do before we start painting is work out the back, the shoulder neck interface.
Okay.
That's the last technical hurdle.
Yep.
And then, so since I didn't get the mechanics done, I still feel like we can do some, we can actually do some work on the eyes.
Right.
Without having to permanently mount them.
Right.
So that I can do that later. You know what I mean?
And I made these not knowing if they were going to actually work very well.
Sure.
So I just thought, well, I'll give you a variety of thicknesses and then hope, that those might be able to
I this will totally work. I think we'll totally be able to get this to give us what we want. And then she's beautiful. I just love her. I love her mouth.
Good. And of course.
I know.
With the requirement of trying to bite people, we had to
bite children. You need to bite children.
So hopefully that will work. It was good fun to sculpt.
So the first thing that has to happen is I want to move her out so that she's diagonal here.
Okay.
So we have access to all of her, and I think her head's here and her tail's there.
Great.
The tail is held on with snaps and Velcro, but right now it bends too far. It can come all the way around.
Gotcha.
And that can throw off your balance. So I want to throw in like, and one of the mechanical things I want to do is throw in a pair of straps
Stiffening,
inside and give it a maximal.
Did you know that anatomically that's correct too?
Is it really?
So they have ossified tendons that run along the tail.
No way.
That stiffen from the pelvis up because it's part of how they move, or they have reduced tail movement. These dromaeosaurs, velociraptors.
Yeah, amazing.
So that's part of it. So
that will be correct.
Scientifically correct.
Amazing. All right, I'm gonna get a drill, and I guess it's time to start sliding this guy. Okay.
Feels good.
All right. I haven't been in here in a long time. All right, let's see.
Tell me what you need for me to help.
Oh,
Aside from
I forgot all about how awful this is.
It's a yoga move to.
Okay, I see. So there's actually, it's adjustable how far out the head sticks. And it's based on my body. So let me get in.
You want your glasses?
What?
Oh, you want your glasses?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Here you go.
If you'll hand them to me once I'm in.
Yep.
All right. So now, oh yeah, here. So Gary, actually, see if you peel back the neck there, pull it towards you and let the light in.
Yeah.
If you could just make a mark up here, right where it crosses the middle of that bracket. Hey, Josh, you can see me in here if you want to.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You got to go down. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I think okay.
All right. I think I'm ready to come back out. Getting out is so much easier.
Birthing.
Oh, I think now what I remember is that she's properly at the right height when she's sitting on an apple box.
Okay.
So I think that that she's another like 8 inches taller.
So we should screw a apple box down and then screw that.
And then screw on top of that apple box.
That sounds good.
Put this under. I think that's a little too high, but that makes painting so much easier. I think we do it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay,
Getting
great.
it good.
So you got her?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Putting her down. All right, I think you can let go.
Okay. Yep.
Good.
Great.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
You just feed that back up to me and I'll do a figure 8. Dude, she looks great.
I know.
That should hold nice and securely.
Yeah,
that should be
that's
plenty.
Good. How's that?
Oh, no, not even remotely. Wait. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no, that is. It's just that this slides well because
Goes
it's hanging
this
off of
way.
its center. Yeah.
Gotcha. But that pinch is good. What's this made out of?
That's Delrin.
It's a Delrin.
Acetal. I love it for this kind of specifically lightweight mechanical grab where I'm grabbing like 70% of the tube with that
grippy
friction.
It'll only take a couple on top.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Now the question is, where are those snaps? I'm going to start with this.
Show me the way.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to start on the top dead center.
That makes sense.
You want to work on the other side on that little angle pop? And yeah, it's just about like throwing four or five big fat stitches around it.
It's been really fun just understanding philosophy in different shops. It's one of my favorite things is dropping into somebody's shop and just talking to them about how they make.
Well, it's like we all go through the same funny transitions too. Like I love telling people, that thing in the beginning, time is your most giveawayable asset.
Sure.
And later it becomes your most valuable.
Right. Yeah.
But you got to give it away in the beginning, a whole bunch.
A whole bunch.
And also that thing where shop stock is really hard to come by in the beginning.
It's all dumpster diving for materials.
I did jobs just for materials. Whole jobs just to be like, that'll afford me a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So this is the lovely technique we got from the folks at Animax. They take the 4-way dance stretch and they stretch it in a frame.
Okay.
And then they've got a cookie they lay over it with that pattern cut out, and they spray a curing urethane, and they spray it in a couple of colors so they get that kind of stone texture.
Yep.
And then they heat dry it, and when they let it unstretch, they get that pop.
Just tightens up.
And that's like UV stable. It takes acrylic paint. It's like,
wow.
You can get all sorts of color variants on it.
Crazy strong, crazy light.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, it's lovely stuff. So I do have a few extra feet of it here for paint tests, so I'm going to lay it out.
Happy. We'll do it.
But okay, so raptors weren't this big. Am I right about that?
So the story goes, and you probably know the story, but the story is fantastic because originally, so the first velociraptor was found in the 20s by the American Museum of Natural History on an expedition in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. And, it was when Crichton wrote it into the Jurassic Park series, he was talking to scientists about it, and he just feared that it wasn't going to be, he used velociraptor because it has a fantastic name.
Right.
But as it transferred to the movie franchise or the initial movie, Spielberg didn't think that, they were big enough or scary enough. So they changed the scale of them. And it was patterned after an animal called Deinonychus first initially, but then, they went into production. This animal didn't actually exist at the scale in reality. Right. But then a paleontologist in Utah found one that was exactly the scale called Utah raptor while they were filming.
Wow.
And
no, I did not know that.
Yeah. So this then becomes a real animal, Utah raptor, to this scale. So they were. So science, so art and science just cross-pollinated each other in a way that hasn't been seen before in pop culture. So it was a really fun find.
All right, so that leads right to my next question, which was, so you graciously sculpted this raptor head for me, and I'm just curious how you start approaching a project like that.
Yeah, so it's a armature. So if I'm gonna do it for a model versus, if I'm gonna make a scientific model versus an entertainment model, it's going to be a very different thing, right?
And so you're establishing that with the client with a very, very
right off the bat, because there's the subjectivity involved with an entertainment model.
Right. So you might have a museum calling up saying, "I want something scientific, but I want it to be really dramatic." And
right.
Then they want to be guided to something in between.
Exactly. So, but it all starts with what we have, the bones. So the architecture, that skeleton. That's the known entity. So we start with that structure. It's just like
every sculptor working off a raptor is going to start with a very similar understructure. It's going to
start with the same physical proportions, and then everything starts from that. Building muscles over that, trying to figure out what we have for knowledge about skin textures, which there are literally preserved skin textures from dinosaurs, which is really cool.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
And that happens repeatedly, right? Like I see this happen every few years, some new bit of
information. They're learning more about color as well. So certain bird-like dinosaurs, so avian dinosaurs actually have these little sites trapped inside, pigment sites trapped inside of the fossil that give us clues to what the colors might have been.
Are they unexpected? Are there some interesting finds in that regard?
More boring than you would hope them to be.
Really?
Yeah. So browns and blacks, and but then that's a very highly debatable thing right now. So people, it's not a slam dunk that's reality, but it's a really fun avenue to think about color, using science to determine color of dinosaurs.
Yeah. All right. So, and I'm curious about, speaking of skin, about this crosshatch skin texture.
Yeah. So it's polygons, right? So the world is made of polygons.
Right.
And I think as you look across nature, you see things repeated over and over and over. And especially when it comes to forms, whether it's the cracking of mud in the desert, or an elephant skin and the way it accordions and folds and squashes and stretches. And so those are observations that you take and you pull into these and compare them to living analogs. You look at birds, you look at reptiles, and you look at things that might be a good metaphor for the the visual look of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all polygons, and you're making them fit, looking at modern reference, and fitting it to that aesthetic.
Yeah. It feels really.
I wonder how they did. Because just taking it and pinching it in.
Yeah.
Or sewing it maybe. Oh, that's what they did. They sewed.
Did they sew through?
Is there a stitch in there? Yeah, I think there's a stitch in.
Oh, it's so nice that her head is just like free.
Looks good.
What?
Nice.
What?
Nice.
Oh, these
So
guys?
light, yeah.
Yeah. It was really fun cutting out all of these pieces of ply like this as open rings. I'll be able to, yeah, there you go. If you look through.
Whoa, nice. Oh yeah, that is really cool.
Isn't that fun?
Neat.
So back when I built her tail, I built it with a little too much swing. And it just has a little too much of a mind of its own, and it tends to swing a little farther to this side than that side, and it makes balance hard. So I'm going to go in with this shoot cord here, parachute cord. And I'm going to try and limit the motion by threading that up each side here so that it can only stretch a little bit, which Gary says is anatomically correct.
It is.
Can confirm. Come on. Oh, that's how to do it. Ooh, ooh. Don't tear it on me. Oh, there's a sweet spot. Wow.
Tail wrangling.
Oh, wait, I gotta go get a thing. Hold on. Oh, yeah, can you try just the tiniest bit farther? There we go. All right. Oh, almost there, almost there. You know what I may do is I may cut it here and go get it out that way.
Out. You need a knife?
Yes, thank you. I didn't include holes big enough for me to get my hands in there, which was dumb.
Wow.
Can you squeeze it a little farther?
Yep.
All right, here we go. We're through. Dee-dee!
Cool.
Oh!
That'll work.
All right, so that's one. And then the other one. Here is the end of that. This will be much easier with a second person. That's great. If you give me your knife.
There we go.
Oh, awesome. It's amazing to build something with so much attention on being lightweight and still not get there. Right? Like, I was hoping for 30 pounds. It's like nothing.
Nah.
Do you want to try and manipulate that tail a little bit and just see if it will move or what that actually... That seems pretty good.
It does feel pretty good.
It doesn't seem like it's going to go out of our... No, that's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. So if you'd support the tail there.
Yep.
There she goes.
Nice. Here we go.
Dude,
Hey, all right.
that's really lovely. Oh, I'm so glad. She's so much more wearable now. It was really hard to puppet her because the tail would swing and throw your balance way off.
Over, yeah. Nice. I was wondering where the killing claws are.
I think we're going to have to make these out of some foam because I only have one.
Yep.
And also,
Just cut them out of the same.
Yeah, I was going to cut them out of the same open cell.
Yeah.
What is the official name for that? The killing claw?
Killing claw.
Really?
Well, you can call it the killing claw, but it's the second digit. Technically, there's another digit that sits. That's what most people call a dew claw on the inside. So this is first digit, and then this is the second digit.
Oh,
technically
the second digit, but it did do some evisceration with this.
So the BBC did this fantastic, and I get to work on this show, The Truth About Killer Dinosaurs.
Oh, okay.
And so whereas they actually made a mechanical toe, and they tested it on pork belly.
Yeah.
And also, I think on a crocodile skin that has osteoderms. And they found that because of the shape of it, it doesn't actually have a cutting edge on it.
Right, of course.
So it wasn't a slasher as much as it was potentially a holding device. So it pins things down, and then the animal would do the business with the head.
Right. But this impales it
Impales it, yeah, more than it would, because their mechanical tests proved that it wasn't ripping and slashing as much as it was holding.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a host of some things here, some finger sanders.
All right.
Gary, I'm curious how much of the sculpting that you do is direct clay sculpting and how much is like subtractive sculpting.
Right. For the most part, I'm doing traditional armature, and then we're doing, roughing it out in foam, and then additive clay, mold, traditional casting.
Yeah.
On a really large projects, we're doing CNC blow ups and then epoxy skins on them. So which is more subtractive in the fine tuning of them. But yeah, it's kind of a hybrid techniques. Depends
How much do you end up doing stuff like this, like foam additive building?
Like I'll sculpt skulls in foam all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, as an understructure.
Just to understand it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just to have something to build over the top of. If I'm going to do a clay sculpture, I'll definitely start with big block of foam and draw it out, and then I carve it up.
Just to put the shape.
Yeah, get the shape in, and then you can start adding soft tissues to that. So.
It's funny. I always describe it as a process of like I can't build on something until I understand it in my body.
And you have to live with it.
Yeah, I have to physically engage.
Exactly.
I just built this bird cage, and the first step was making a big block of it in foam core, just so I could live with the size of it for an hour.
Is it going to work?
Yeah.
In that space. So yeah, it's part of that comes from just you learn by. It's just like drawing something. Either drawing it or sculpting it, the understructure, and then you start to understand the overall shape. All right, I'm gonna go rough that out.
Okay. Yep.
And that.
Enjoy the bandsaw.
Yes.
Oh, what is this that seems to make everything better? This is called a finger sander. This is a pneumatic one. This is a different pneumatic one. And this is one that's actually electric, made by Proxon. The first time I saw one of these, I was like, what is that? Still one of my favorite tools.
Like we make a little bit of a divot right here.
On the outside.
That part. That gives it just a little bit of weight.
Okay.
They don't have it so much on this one, but it's kind of a neat little feature.
It's about like around here.
Yeah. So if you think of that as the chicken foot, that's the pad. The top is the bone, and then that's the fleshy pad that goes underneath the foot that would contact.
And would that bulge out or in?
Bulges. Well, it bulges out, but the way we get to make it look like it's bulging out is to make a slight recess above it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we bring in a little and make this
just a little fatter.
Just a
little, yeah. And then that keep that nice and chunky.
That's actual size. They're all
we can
glued
figure
in,
it. We can figure it out.
Well,
That's no sweat.
I kind of like the idea of them having a tiny bit of gloss to them.
Oh, always. So that's one of the things you got to do. So in order to change finishes, you always want to get like claws, teeth, inside of mouth, just the corners of the eyes. Get a little bit of gloss next. It makes a huge difference finish-wise. Yeah, so we'll do that for sure. It goes a long way.
I specifically love covering on this channel those little tiny aesthetic details that fill your eye in for stuff that you don't see.
Right.
Those like you're saying, the reflection in the corner. I'm sure you could show someone 2 pictures and they wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but one looks better.
Right. It's a major thing, and it happens very quickly because it's such a light reflection. You catch that claw, catch that little glint in the eye.
Is there a story you can remember of like one of your constructions where it was just not gelling until you figured out this one detail to get it to like?
So often it can be done in the color and like in the very final things, because if so often you're working with counter shades, so light and dark values back and forth, and sometimes it's just pushing those colors back and forth until all of a sudden it just goes like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and you get it, and then it happens.
There's always that moment where for me, there's always this moment when the paint job fools me.
Correct, right? If you walk in the next day and you're like, hey.
Right, it's not what you expected, it's something new.
Yeah, it's working, it's surprising. When it's surprising to yourself, I think it's effective.
There's like 2 kinds of artists in the world. I think there's artists who romanticize the craft and come up with this, like, I'm surprised by the work. Yeah. And then there's artists, and I've met plenty of them who are like, I am not romanticizing the craft. I'm doing what I'm doing. It is an iterative process. I'm creative and I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And I totally respect that. I have a much more emotional process.
Right. In fact, I always talk about, if you're not empathetic with your subject, I don't think you're going to be effective at what you do. I mean, you have to believe in some way you have to relate to that animal on a level that you can imagine its life and imagine its lifestyle or its biology, so that you can sort of try and figure out what it's doing, and then that becomes part of the art.
Now I'm curious about your volunteering at the Animal Rescue Center. Of like, there must be aspects of animal anatomy you have learned that have surprised you, made you better at dealing with animals in situ.
It's one of my favorite parts of volunteering. Wow. Yeah, because I get to hold these animals, which is traumatic, usually
they're all
injured, right, in distress, but they realize that I'm very interested in the anatomy, and so they not the animals, but the vets who are there, and they feed my interest in learning about these animals and hoping to do some good for them if you can. Yeah. I learn a lot. I mean, you have the ability to look into an animal's eye that closely and feel the power of those animals, and it's formidable.
We had to remove a burr from my terrier's paw this weekend, right?
Just traumatic.
Talk about pulling by the short hairs. So I've got her on my lap and I'm wrapped around her like this, and I am not squeezing her, but I am using all my strength that she cannot move.
Right.
And I'm not squeezing her, but she can't move. And boy, does she want to move. And we finally get the burr out, and this must happen in the animal rescue. Letting go of the animal is the most dangerous part. And again, not with the terrier. What amazed me about Maggie is the moment we let her go, she held no enmity for us whatsoever and hung out and like gave us kisses.
Right.
Like she understood what we were doing. Yeah. Do you ever feel like the animals know that you're there to help?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. Most of the time they're trying to get away from you, but there are other times when I think, I think there's a relief to what you're doing to that, and it might be painful at the moment, but the end game is hopefully evident. Nice. That's good.
I'm going to set up a table with some brown paper on it here. By the way, my friend Ben has figured out that if you're using like high-end contact cement and you let it get too dry, that heat will reactivate barge glue.
How does that work?
I know. And yet it does.
Huh.
Yeah. So if you have a bond that like you've just done and you're like, oh man, I can't move.
Yeah.
Or like it's too stuck and you need to undo it, a heat gun will soften it and allow you to replace.
That is valuable.
Here, will you hold that? And I will come in there with, that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see how that's going to go.
Yep.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yep.
I've got that. And so then I'm going to bring this around. I may have to cut some out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To get a dart out of it, or...
Have I got this backwards?
I don't think so. I think it's right.
Yeah.
Because we need that for the...
Yeah, you do. Oh. That's stuck to itself. Well, that's where it attaches to the body. The stick down is lovely.
It does grab it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Get that business.
And that gives you on the...
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, cool. So then I'm going to mark what I'm going to be missing. And get some in there. And they, the two pieces I pulled are bilaterally, sorry, they're chiral. They're mirror images of each other. So the one I'm working with is the opposite of yours.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to go for it. Be good.
Haha, look at that. That little piece will fit right there.
Yes. Super impressed with how well that sticks.
I'm really impressed with how well it grabs and also releases and allows you to replace.
Right.
Like, I'm finding all the things about its versatility quite lovely.
Yeah. That is
That
very
is
forgiving.
A little help. Well, it's also like glue and fabric. They just love each other.
Feathers and glue. It's my game.
What's that?
Feathers and glue. It's the same thing. It's
right.
Oh my gosh.
I guess that feather's there forever.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, looking good. You're very good.
All right, I'm going to start working on attaching this to the foot.
Yep.
That's going to be interesting.
Ah, that looks great.
Yeah, it really does. Also, if like you're worried anyone's going to see your feet, no one's seeing past this.
That claw. Fantastic.
All right, I got to take a look inside here. Okay, there's that. And there's this.
Let's see.
Ah, okay. Something's messed up in there. All right. Aha. That's what was going on. Okay. Now I see. Okay. So, first up, this business here. Well, that's setting. Let's do a little bit of right. All right, and that one's good. Okay, so then actually cutting into here, since that's not attached, and doing almost like a hot glue from that to that, and then 77 over there.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, that would be. I mean, that would
Because
work
you've
just
got
fine.
you've got enough.
Got this.
You've got a bunch of extra there too to with.
Yeah, and I can.
But I feel like so. Part of me wants to now just like I want to move on to some color tests so we can start to see.
I'm looking good for that.
So her form is ready. I think she's now proud and waiting for us to give her some color, but let's go figure out some color tests.
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. Nice.
Pardon me.
That was a wet one. All right.
And then I'm just going to paint this in and then rub it off of the top so it gets, really want it to stay in the cracks. And there's another thing we can use on the body, which is, I call it the dusty elephant color. It's basically a warm gray and works super well in the cracks.
Oh, wow.
And so that's a nice general purpose toning color that I like to use on dinos. Because large animals tend to take on the color of the environment they're in. Like if you think about elephants.
Dude, I couldn't
rhinos.
believe until I went on a safari that elephants can be standing 10 feet from you and you won't know unless they intend for you to know. That blew my mind that an elephant could sneak up on you in dense woodland.
Incredibly quiet.
All right, what do you think about?
Yeah, that's great.
Now you want to do the
Now
dry?
I'm gonna do a little bit of dark scrub.
I want to watch this happen. This is really exciting.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a new dry brush.
Yes.
Because it'll mess it up if I don't.
Well, you have a very specific amount of dry.
Yeah, because if you go in heavy, it's really hard to reverse it. So you got to come in, tender as the night. Get it just starting to show up, and of course I always paint it on myself to see if it shows up as it goes. Give that a go.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. The first time you do it, you feel like I'm not making much progress.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
but then also the difference in the variegation of where you like in the paint underneath, or am I getting too much in the interstices there?
I think you might be.
Yeah, I think I might be pushing too hard.
Yep. Try it. Not flat, but this way.
Wow, I can't believe how much that
and
gives.
And you just keep adding to it and adding to it. You can get it almost opaque on some parts when it's really dark and you can get the light to show. Now let's take it really heavy and see if we can get, because for specific points of interest, it makes a.
Right. And this is how you can start to do stripes that don't feel like stripes.
Because you've always got something showing through.
Right. Oh.
But so the next thing we could do would be take that same color that you had, or maybe we could pick another color.
Right. That's the thing I was thinking of, a kind of, that the yellow will look even more sickly and messed up next to a green.
Complement it.
Right.
With a green of some kind.
Dude.
Right, so that it just makes it pop. And then of course, like here, we've got this nice sculpting.
Yeah.
Where we get some difference in topography. And then of course, as you go across that, it just adds a really nice effect.
And then you leave the topography. No, okay.
Yeah, we'll hit that. And then there's other tricks to do after this, but it really depends on what effect you're shooting for. Yeah, and it's quick. That's the nice thing, is it's can be very quick if you plan it well. So
that's amazing.
Let's try some green.
All right.
I want to kill that green with a little brown because it's a little too.
Yeah.
It's a little too
container. Little container.
Sure.
There's a container for you.
Okay. I'm gonna try. Yeah. Let's do that, and then I'll kill. Red kills green.
Oh wow, you're doing a dry brush on there.
I'm gonna stipple it or sponge it, I think. But I needed to make it a little bit more. That green is not.
Well, we'll kill it with a little of this.
That's pretty blue. I think this will be okay. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it's good.
I also got this. I got some green gold.
Ooh, that's a nice natural color.
Yeah.
But we can. Thinking that if we've got a pattern that we want to we want to include, and there are some subtle striping possibly. We could do a little.
Oh, dude.
And then if we can.
Oh, I can really see how that's gonna.
I think we can use this to our advantage both in the patterning and the seaming of the skin, for sure.
I was thinking you would have a darker back or spine. Is that it?
I think that's the best way to fly.
Yeah.
If we can get a line that for continuity, if you can have that counter shaded from top of the head all the way to the back.
That's what
really
I was
sharp.
considering. And I also realized that what I want to do is I want to take a photograph of this tonight, print it out, and then you and I can do some sketches about where these will be, and then we can attack it together from both sides.
That's a grand idea. Other nice things you can do is just
start to
do that.
Yes,
rubbing it off the top.
Holy cow! Yeah.
And then that makes a really nice subtle color that's not so stipply.
Yeah.
Which leaves you a mess, of course. So we have some options, right?
This is precisely what I was thinking as the color palette. I love how different it is than your standard, and I feel like we're in a good place color-wise.
Yeah, I think we've got proof of concept here for sure.
I love, and we can get that going darker and darker on the top. Yeah,
and we can pull this into this, and then back and forth. And I think that's really when you push and pull, you get really nice results.
I know that I paint stuff all the time, but I have learned a tremendous amount in the last half hour, man. This was a real education.
It's a lot of fun to paint these big dinosaurs.
Like I said, I think off camera, sometimes I know actually that I build stuff just so I can get to paint it. Okay, so now this is the top.
Yep.
And I can just
put tension on that.
And
it's good.
Yeah, much better. And it doesn't spin and
Yeah.
Also, it does that kind of snake that's really neat.
Yeah, it's good. It's a little bit more natural.
All right, so here, come on over here and
use that shot.
Oh yeah,
you should shoot it from this side. Can you please shoot it from this side over here? It's amazing.
Thank you so much for supporting us by watching this channel. You can support us at an even deeper level by heading over to tested-store.com and picking up one of our tested embroidered baseball caps. We got your normal baseball cap, we got your flex fits, and we got flex fit truckers. And we are just starting to play around with lots of new designs, so check back regularly. Thanks.